Hey everybody, welcome to Off the Shelf Board Game Reviews. This video is part of a series of videos featuring Deep State. Now this video itself, I'm going to actually just do a review of the game. If you want to actually learn how to play the game, if you want to see a quick overview, if you actually want to see some sample gameplay, check out those videos. I'll have some links for them right here for you. But otherwise, this video itself is just going to be a review of the game. Now Deep State is a 2 to 4 player game. It's basically a set collection game mixed with a worker placement game. And I'm going to use kind of a reference to Race for the Galaxy here, and you'll understand why I'm using that reference in just a few moments here. But this is a game where the players are using agents, going to various locations, getting cards, and these cards are going to allow them to get victory points, whether those victory points are going to come from the cards themselves or by getting the combinations from these treaties, which are going to allow them to get multiplications of the victory points, or then go after these projects to get victory points also. So there's lots of different ways to get victory points in this game, but this game is a very deep strategic game that is actually a little bit kind of a brutal kind of game. Now me, myself, I love games that are very, very brutal, but this game is going to be, I think it's going to be a little bit polarizing, much like Race for the Galaxy. This is a game that is going to reward people who are willing to play the game a lot, because the more you play this game, the more you're going to understand the strategies and the more you're going to understand actually how to play the game itself. Now, if you've ever played Race for the Galaxy before, if you're not familiar with Race for the Galaxy is a game where you're playing cards down and you're trying to get cards that are going to give you victory points to end the game. Now, the reason why I'm using a reference between these two games is both these games are going to be games that are going to reward players who are willing to learn the game, put a lot of effort in learning the game, and becoming masters of the game itself. This is a game that is not afraid to kick a player in the teeth a few times if they play dumb. And that is something that I know is going to bother some players. And just to use a good example, the very first time we played this game, understanding the rules, we didn't make any rules errors in the game. The very first time we played the game, the final scores were first place 89 points, last place was 45 points, and that was in a 3-player game only. First and second place were only separated by just a couple points, but the last place player came pretty much half the amount of victory points for the other players. And that goes to illustrate how this game is played, because this is a game where you need to be playing tactically, and you also need to be playing strategic at the exact same time. Now for me, myself, that is something I absolutely love in games. I'm not a huge fan of games that are purely just tactical type of games. For example, just use a game such as Viticulture. Viticulture for me was a game that kind of felt flat because it felt like a very tactical game. When I played Viticulture, I felt like every single turn that I was playing, I was looking at my hand of cards saying, yep, this is my best move, I'm done. Oh, my turn again? Yep, it's my best move. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, why am I doing these moves? Because I have this card here that's telling me to make all these moves. This is a game that is partially tactical, but it's also very, very strategic. And if you watch a playthrough video, you'll see just how strategic this game is. And I tried to explain that when I was talking about the game and how the game plays. Because in this game, you have these treaty cards, which you may think, oh, like Viticulture, these are going to railroad me into making decisions. They're really not, because a lot of these cards are actually going to give you extra strategies and extra ways, extra powers. And the nice thing is, I liked about this game, unlike a lot of games, is you're not fully railroaded by these cards because there are other ways to get victory points. Now in this game, there's pretty much 4 different distinct paths you can take to get victory points in this game. You can go for the project route, which is going to give you a lot of victory points. If you get to the end of 2 of these projects, that's 90 victory points. That's pretty much going to be a victory right there. Or you can go through the victory points of trying to chase down the treaties, looking at the cards that come up and planning strategically, looking at the future cards coming and going, okay, I have these treaties right here. I see this treaty right here. If I can get one card, I could probably get a good 10, 15, maybe more victory points from this one card. Okay, so I need to be planning strategically, looking for these cards coming out and going, okay, I see that this player over here has governments. I know there's only 2 more government cards in the deck, or 3 or 4, depending on how many players you're playing. But knowing what's coming along is going to allow you to play the game better strategically. Finally, you can also play the game by just going over these covert operations, going for these victory points too. And again, every one of these strategies could provide a very solid victory, or you can use a blend of all these by going for all of these things to get a victory point. For example, getting to level 4 right here would be 25 victory points. Doing some card combinations would be a couple more victory points, and maybe getting 1 or 2 of these covert operations will give you some more victory points. And they did a fantastic job of blending all these things in, and they made it in a way that if you understand the game, you're never going to be railroaded. I mean, you can sit there and look at this and go, I got these treaties, I want to get them into play. I can't get them into play because there's no government card. Well, actually, that's not true. Okay, if I want to sacrifice 2 agents, bam, there's my treaty in play. I'm no longer railroaded by this game. Or you can sit back and go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go for a Unified Nations strategy where I'm going to take all of my agents, put them forward towards Unified Nations, which will give me the ability to pull back lots of agents, which means that I can start going towards these victory points right here. And this is a lot of victory points. 16, 14, there's 30 victory points just in 2 cards right there. And again, 80 or 90 victory points out of the game is not a bad score. It's probably going to win you the game. So you're looking at, that's another good strategy to go towards for the victory points. So they've done a very good job with this game of creating an engine building, worker placement game, set collection game where you're not forced to go towards one strategy. Multiple strategies work towards your victory, and there's many different paths towards victory, and you're not stuck doing one thing, which is something I do not like in a game. I don't like tactical games where you're forced to look at every single round and figure out what the best thing is to do, because those games basically, in my mind, play themselves. This game doesn't do that. Now, the game has a really interesting way of having a interesting theme, where it's a puppet master theme. We're in the 20th century. It's okay, Grant. It's an alternate 20th century where we survived a couple world wars, and the puppet masters in the background are trying to take over the world by having the most influence. Now, we read about these in many novels. Matter of fact, if you're a fan of those kind of novels, there's many fantastic authors who write these kind of books. Tom Clancy and everything like that. They write these kind of puppet master secret organization books. And that's basically what this game is. It takes that theme, and the theme is a pretty good representation of the game. You can feel the theme of the game coming through when you play it. And granted, it's just a card game. And much like Race for the Galaxy, the theme is coming from the artwork and the names of all the cards. Because, I mean, yes, this is just a red card, but it's a mass media card. If I take this card, I know that my puppet strings are controlling the media. If I take this card, my puppet strings are controlling the labor unions. So you can feel a little bit of the theme coming through. So yeah, it is a little bit of a, you kind of got to put your brain into the theme, but at least the theme of the game does come true. I like the fact that the game does play really quickly. It's a good card game. I mean, in a 4-player game, you're going to be about 90 minutes for a full game. But as you get better at the game, I could probably easily see getting a 4-player of this game down to maybe about 75 minutes or maybe an hour once everybody understands the game. Now, I have the game with one of the free expansions thrown into it, which I think is almost like a mandatory inclusion into the game. Now, why do I say that? Well, there are going to be times in this game where you're going to be kind of a little bit of a victim of this card row right here. Now, what do I mean by being a victim of that card row? Well, that card row, you see how these cards are going to come up different ways every time you play the game. Well, your strategy may rely on a world war, or your strategy may rely on researchers, or your strategy may rely on ruling parties. If those cards aren't coming up, you may feel a little bit like you're locked into things. So I do like the fact that these cards right here are going to give you bonuses. They're going to give you extra abilities, and they're going to give you a little bit of discounts, and they can kind of be a little bit of a leg up if you feel like the cards are just not working in your favor. And it's a card game. That can happen in any single card game. I can't think of a single card game where the way the cards are going to come out, especially in a tableau building game, where you're not going to feel like the cards are working in your favor. So I like these cards, and plus the way you get these cards, it's a very simple thing. Any player can get them just by sacrificing their agent, gathering power for one turn. Instead of gathering an agent, they can take one of those cards. And those cards are really, really nice. So I would almost say that these cards are mandatory to the game for a simple fact that there have been a few times when I played the game where I'm going, well, I'm kind of just taking an action because I really don't have access to the card I need. The card I need is right over here. I'm not going to throw my agents over here at this things because I'm not going to have my agents when I need them. So I'll just sit back and, just take an agent this turn, and I don't really need the agent. So the fact that they added in this extra ability does kind of fix one little minuscule little persnickety aspect I felt with the game. So I am glad that they have that, but if you're looking at this game, I'm going to almost say that that's a mandatory inclusion. The game itself, again, talking about the theme, I like the fact that the artwork matches the theme. It almost feels like a Marvel Comics feel to it. The artwork has a good sense of that classic Marvel Comics feel. If you read the comics in the 80s, that was when I did it, because that's when I was young enough to read comics. But the artwork matches it really, really well. It almost has like a Stan Lee kind of artistic flair to it, and I really enjoy that. The icons for the game are really good. They match, they make sense. They're really easy to read. The game is actually really easy to teach. There's lots of positives about this game. I honestly think that the only thing that players are going to have to be conscious of when they look into seeing if this is going to be a game for them is understand that this is not a game where it's for the one and done type of crowd. It's also not a game for the people who like hand holding. This is a game for people who like strategy, people who like tactics, people who like a long playing game and a game that's going to grow with them. The more they play the game, the more they're going to get better at the game, the more professional they get at the game, and the more they're going to enjoy the game, and the fact that how they interact with the card row, how they interact with the projects, how they build their plans around all these different cards, these different ways to get victory points, and different ways to play the game. Now for me, every time I look at a game, The biggest component for me is how often do I want to replay a game. And again, back to that Race for the Galaxy mentioned earlier, and I told you I was going to mention it a few times, and it's a good reason why I mentioned it. But for me, a game has to have lots of replay value, and there has to make me want to come back and play a game. If I'm giving my hard-earned money towards a game, I don't want to throw down money for a game I'm going to play once, twice, 3 times, and toss her to the shelf and go, hey guys, let's never play that game again. And that's why I mentioned Race for the Galaxy. Why did I mention it? Because to this day, I am still playing Race for the Galaxy because it is a game that has so much replay value to it. And it's a game that offers so much strategy and so much skill. The more you play the game, the more you realize that that is a game absolutely about skill. And that's the same thing here with this game of Deep State. The more I play this game, the more I'm realizing that there is a lot of skill to this game. When I'm playing this game, I need to be planning my future moves, looking at the cards that are coming out. Every time I play this game, I'm seeing new strategies coming out through the different treaties that are coming out. I'm looking at treaties and going, oh, no, that's pretty darn cool. So if I get this treaty into play, and then this treaty into play, and if I get that card, and ooh, that's just going to be awesome. Matter of fact, even during the playthrough video, I actually had one of these treaty cards come in my hand, and I said, oh my gosh, if I combo that with that, that is going to rock. And you can see the response of myself just by when I saw it come up, because I'd never seen that combo come together before. But I'm like going, wow, that's just awesome. So this game, there's no question in my mind that there is a lot of replay to this game, to the point that you need to replay this game. The more you play this game, the more you're going to appreciate this game. Again, like I said earlier, this is one of those games that the first time you play it, you may not appreciate this game, especially if that person only got the 45 victory points when everybody else doubled your score. You're going to kind of go, wow, I kind of got my butt kicked there. Well, that's because this game requires you to understand the cards, understand the amount of symbols in this game, understand that if certain cards come out, there's a potential that there's a certain strategy that's not going to be available to you anymore unless you plan for that aspect happening. For example, just a really stupid example. If you're being really bullheaded and looking at your treaties and not paying attention to what the other players are doing, it is very possible to put yourself in a bad hole that should be really hard to come out from. Luckily, the Deep State card or project can save you from that happening in a really terrible instance, but that just means that you're going to spend resources towards the Deep State, which means you're going to have to pay attention to it, which is something you need to be constantly doing in this game. So let's just use the example of governments. Let's say I'm not paying attention to what the other players are doing, and I have this really cool treaty card in my hand, and this player gets a government, this player gets a government, this player gets a government, and then there's another government card that I don't get, and I'm going to sit there and go, oh wait, now I can't get this treaty card unless I put a whole bunch of my points toward Deep State, but I can't put my points towards Deep State because I need this one card that allows me to work towards this other strategy. Oh man, now I just put myself in a hole. So there is the possibility of not understanding the amount of symbols, the amount of available resources, and the stuff that's still coming in the game can cause you a little bit of problems. So again, that's why you need to play this game multiple times. And it is fun to replay. I enjoy replaying this game and having a heck of a fun time replaying this game. Matter of fact, we're playing this game again Saturday, and I'm hoping to actually record it and put this up along with this video series. So this game plays great on multiple player counts. It plays from 2 to 4 players. I've had a lot of fun with all those player counts. I am going to be honest though, I have a lot more fun playing this game as a 3 and a 4 player game. And the reason why is because I like a lot of player interaction when I play a game. And I do like the fact that when you start adding more players to it, you're going to start noticing that as players are going for these cards over here in the infiltration row, players are going to be going, oh no, 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 no. I need that card more than you, so I'm going to take it from you. And the card players are going, oh man, well at least I got a treaty from it. Oh, I got a treaty that's going to give me 5 points. Thanks for bumping me, that actually helped me. So you're going to see a lot more player interaction, and I do love player interaction. For me, player interaction is something that's really, really mandatory for me. The more there is, the better. The less there is there, the less I'm going to like a game. So there's the fact that you're not totally railroad into a strategy. There's the fact that if a player does something, there are some possibilities. If you plan for it, you can stop them from doing it. So it is a little bit of a step up from your typical worker placement game where it's just a race to be the first person to get a resource. You can bump players off, so that's cool. So there's lots of things built into this game to add to the replay, make it a great game at multiple player accounts. Again, I kind of prefer it at the 3 and 4 players, but I still had fun at 2 players. But again, that's exactly how I like Race for the Galaxy anyways. Race for the Galaxy for me is like a 3 or 4 player game, but I know a lot of people love it as a 2 player game. So that's enough for the references to Race for the Galaxy. Do I like Deep State? Yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it. I think it's a great game. It's a game that's definitely going to stay in my collection. It's a game that's going to get a lot of replay out of it. My only thing that I would love to see for this game, and I just don't think it would actually work in this case, would be see this game as a 5 player game. And simply because my game group is generally a 5 player group, and it's unfortunate I won't be able to pull this game out all the time, especially if everybody shows up. That's pretty much going to be the game I'll pull out as the people show up early. Play this game while waiting for everybody to show up. Once we get the 5th and 6th player, this game's going to have to go on the shelf. So if we can get a 5th player, that'd be fantastic. If not, it's still a great game that I'm going to highly recommend. That's Deep State. Now, if you enjoyed this video and this video series, be sure to like this video. Be sure to subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, make sure you leave them down in the YouTube comments down below. I'll be sure to answer them as quickly as I can. You can also feel free to email me at offtheshelfboardgamereviews. That's otsbgr@gmail.com. And as always, thanks for watching.